You've done everything right. You're eating the lentils, the sweet potato, the complex carbs from the plan. And somewhere in the back of your mind, there's this nagging question. Is all of that just switching off my cellular repair? That is a completely valid question, and today you're getting the real answer. Here's what you'll know by the end of this video in plain English. 1. How to eat carbohydrates without completely shutting down your body's cellular cleanup pathways. 2. A 5 to 8 minute routine from a chair, no equipment, that changes how your body handles every meal that follows it. 3. Exactly what to eat after movement to help support the repair window for as long as possible. This is called the Glycogen Clearing Protocol, and it works whether you're 45 and training hard or 73 and looking for something that actually moves the needle. Let's go. Everyone talks about fasting as the lever for cellular repair. Fasting gets the headlines. Fasting gets the book deals. But your body has a second switch, one that doesn't necessarily require skipping meals. That switch is exercise. Specifically, the right kind, at the right intensity, timed correctly. Here's how the concern usually goes in the comments. If I eat carbohydrates, even complex ones, doesn't that spike insulin, activate mTOR, and shut down autophagy? Mechanistically? To some degree, yes. That's the textbook answer. Eat carbs. Glucose enters the bloodstream. Insulin rises. mTOR activity increases. The cellular cleanup systems quiet down. But the textbook leaves something out. That sequence assumes you've been sitting still. It assumes the glucose from your meal has nowhere productive to go. What happens when the muscles receiving that glucose are already partially emptied? Everything changes. The insulin response to that same meal often looks very different. Glucose gets pulled into muscle tissue more efficiently. And the cellular repair window you thought food had immediately closed? It may stay open longer than you'd expect. That is the second lever. Movement as a biological signal that changes how your body processes everything that comes after it. You already know about mTOR, the pathway associated with growth mode and nutrient abundance. The opposing force is AMPK. Think of AMPK as your body's emergency cleanup coordinator, but it only becomes strongly activated when the cell senses that energy is being consumed faster than it's being replaced. Specifically when ATP, the cell's energy currency, begins dropping and AMP rises. AMPK interprets that shift like an internal alarm signal. Energy deficit detected. Conserve resources. Recycle damaged components. In other words, AMPK helps create conditions associated with autophagy activation. And exercise, when intense enough, creates exactly that signal inside muscle tissue. Here's the research that makes this concrete. A landmark human study divided trained athletes into low-intensity and high-intensity exercise groups, then measured autophagy-related markers in muscle biopsies before, immediately after, and 1 hour after exercise. The findings were clear. High-intensity exercise significantly increased AMPK activation and produced measurable changes in autophagy-related markers. The cellular recycling systems didn't just wake up, they became substantially more active. Low-intensity exercise, much weaker effect. The researchers concluded that autophagy-related activation in skeletal muscle appears heavily dependent on exercise intensity and AMPK signaling. That is peer-reviewed human data, muscle biopsies, real biomarkers, not just theory. But here's the trap most people fall into. They hear intensity and immediately think sprinting, heavy barbells, gasping for air. That is not what this means. Your muscles store glucose in the form of glycogen, essentially reserve fuel tanks used during demanding movement. When those tanks are already full after sitting all day, after a normal night's sleep, after a sedentary routine, carbohydrates from your next meal have fewer productive places to go. So blood glucose rises more aggressively. Insulin rises higher. mTOR signaling stays elevated. But when those glycogen stores have been partially depleted through movement, the metabolic environment changes dramatically. Research shows previously exercised muscle demonstrates significantly greater glucose uptake than rested muscle after the same meal. Another study found glycogen stores can drop substantially during moderately intense activity, and insulin sensitivity often remains elevated when the body isn't immediately flooded with refined carbohydrates afterward. In plain language, when you move before you eat, the carbohydrates from your meal are more likely to be directed into muscle tissue efficiently, often with a smaller insulin response. Less insulin elevation, less aggressive mTOR signaling, a potentially longer repair window. Your lentils and sweet potato are not the enemy. They just need somewhere to go, and movement creates that somewhere. The timing that appears to work best: move within 1 to 2 hours before your highest carbohydrate meal of the day. Not a casual stroll, enough intensity to genuinely challenge your muscles, raise your heart rate meaningfully, and activate AMPK signaling. Then eat. Simple, practical, and increasingly supported by the research. Now, what does intensity actually look like in your living room? It looks like this. A 2024 randomized controlled trial studied adults aged 65 to 80. The exercise group performed 2 daily bouts of a 5-exercise chair-based circuit, roughly 9 minutes per session. Done from home, no equipment. The results showed measurable improvements in physical function with extremely high adherence rates. 9 minutes from a chair, and people actually stuck with it. And for those of you in your 70s watching right now, I want to speak to you directly for a moment. A separate study involving older adults found that regular resistance training was associated with measurable increases in autophagy-related protein markers, while simultaneously improving inflammatory markers linked to aging. So, here is the circuit. The chair protocol, 5 to 8 minutes, no equipment. Do this before your main meal. Number 1, seated chair squats, 10 reps. Stand up slowly from your chair, then sit back down slowly. The lowering phase creates much of the muscular demand. Count 3 seconds down. Number 2, wall push-ups, 10 reps, hands against a wall at shoulder height. Lean in, push back, no floor required. Number 3, seated leg raises, 10 reps per side. Sitting upright, slowly raise one leg straight out, hold 2 seconds, lower. Number 4, door frame rows, 10 reps, grip both sides of a door frame, lean back slightly, and pull yourself forward. Number 5, calf raises at the kitchen counter, 20 reps. Rise slowly onto your toes, lower slowly. That's the whole circuit. Done at a pace that feels challenging, not painful, but effortful. It is enough to meaningfully shift cellular energy demand and activate AMPK-related signaling. Then eat your meal. That sequence, done consistently before your main meal of the day, changes the metabolic environment of everything that follows. For those training harder, here's how to align with the 7-day plan. Days 1 and 2, the low methionine reset. Keep training moderate. Your body is recalibrating nutrient-sensing pathways, and excessive volume may work against the signal you're trying to create. Days 3 and 4, the autophagy peak. This is your strongest repair window. A strategically timed exercise session in the late morning, 2 to 3 hours after your polyphenol window, may help stack both dietary and exercise-related repair signals simultaneously. 2 levers. Pull together, days 5 through 7. The rebuild phase. Train harder now. Higher intensity sessions, heavier resistance work. You're shifting into a more anabolic recovery environment, and the stronger proteins returning to your plate pair directly with the training stimulus. The exercise and the nutrition pointing in the same biological direction. Here's where most people accidentally undo a large part of the metabolic benefit, and it happens immediately after training. Right. After training. You've activated AMPK, you've partially depleted glycogen, the cellular cleanup systems are active, and then comes the sugary recovery drink. Here's what happens biologically. That rapid glucose hit creates a sharp insulin rise in a state where your cells are highly insulin sensitive. mTOR signaling increases rapidly. The repair window begins narrowing. The cleanup process quiets earlier than it needed to. Research suggests immediate refined carbohydrate refeeding may blunt some of the insulin-sensitizing benefits of exercise compared to more strategic post-workout nutrition. The fix is simple. You don't need to starve after training. You need to refeed intelligently. Within 30 to 60 minutes of your session, wild-caught salmon or sardines, complete amino acid profile, EPA and DHA for cellular membrane support. Lower methionine than many processed protein sources. 2 to 3 pasture-raised eggs, soft-boiled, poached, or scrambled. Complete amino acids, choline, fat-soluble nutrients. A small portion of complex carbohydrates, sweet potato, quinoa, or lentils. Enough to replenish some glycogen without overwhelming the insulin response. Olive oil or avocado as your fat source. Supportive for cellular membranes without aggressively stimulating mTOR signaling. Trained to open the repair window. Refeed in a way that supports it. Then let sleep complete the job. Let's put this together. The entire system is really 4 steps. Move, meaningfully, even briefly, before your main meal. 5 to 8 minutes of challenging bodyweight movement is often enough to activate AMPK-related signaling and partially empty glycogen stores. Eat strategically. Complex carbohydrates with quality protein and healthy fats in a metabolic environment that handles them more efficiently. Refeed cleanly after training. Real food, quality protein, smart carbohydrates, minimal processed junk. Sleep deeply, where much of the rebuilding and recovery process actually occurs. That's the system. Movement and nutrition as 2 levers pointing in the same biological direction, not competing, not canceling each other out, working together. Before you go, one question for the comments. Are you primarily a fasting person, where dietary timing is your main lever, or a movement person, where exercise is what makes everything else click? Or are you working on combining both? Drop your answer and your current routine below. I read every single one. And the responses directly shape what we cover next, because the next layer is one most people never reach. We've covered what to eat. We've covered how to move. But both are happening inside a 24-hour biological clock, one that determines when your cells are most receptive to repair signals, when AMPK is naturally most active, and when the same exercise session may produce very different effects depending on timing. That's circadian sequencing, and that's exactly where we're going next. Stay close.